Hello everyone, and welcome to AlignBooks. Today, we're going to take a detailed look at the inventory module and how managing inventory works within AlignBooks. But before we dive into that, let's first go over all the configurations and settings required to get started. So, to begin, we will navigate to the top right corner of the screen and click on the fifth option, which is Configuration. Once we're inside Configuration, you will see the Company Setup option. Let's click on that. Within Company Setup, you will find Inventory. We'll go there next. Now, in the Inventory section, we can make all the necessary changes and fill in all the required details. Once that's done, we'll start with the inventory management itself. Alright, so the first option here is the Item Stock Unit. Now, what exactly is an Item Stock Unit? Well, there are three options available here: Stock Unit, Stock Pack Unit, and Stock Pack G-Pack. Let me explain this with an example to make it clearer. Imagine you purchase a product that comes in a carton. Inside that carton, you have 10 different boxes, and in each box, there are 15 individual products. In this scenario, the carton is considered the Stock Pack G-Pack unit, the box is the Stock Pack unit, and one individual product is the stock unit. So to summarize, the first unit is the number of products, the second unit is the box, and the third unit is the carton. If you maintain your inventory in 3 different units like this, you can select those options here. Moving on, the next setting is the Warehouse option. If you maintain multiple warehouses and keep different kinds of products in each one, this setting is for you. We have 2 options available: Document Level and Line Level. In the Document Level option, you select one warehouse, and all the items in that particular document will be from that selected warehouse. But, in the Line Level option, you can select different warehouses for different items. This is useful in case you have some items stored in one warehouse and others stored in a different warehouse. So depending on your business needs, you can select either Document Level or Line Level. You will also notice a little blue icon next to each setting. If you click on it, it gives you a clear explanation of what that specific setting means, which can be very helpful. Now, the next setting is Document Classification. I'll explain this with another example. Say you own a textile store, but you also sell shoes in the same store. With Document Classification, you can categorize your invoices into 2 groups, one for shoes and one for clothes. This way, if you want to generate a report for only the shoe invoices, you can easily do so. Similarly, you can generate reports for clothes separately. This classification makes it much easier to organize and analyze your sales data. Next up is the Bar Scan Lookup option. If you want to use barcode scanning in your inventory management, you can turn this option on here. Following that, there's the barcode scan based on setting. Here, you choose what the barcode scanning should be based on. You can select from options such as item level, serial number, barcode, batch number, jewelry tag number, or whatever suits your business needs best. Now, let's talk about minimum stock level. What is minimum stock level? Let me give you a quick example. Suppose you own a store, and you sell a product that only has 2 items left in stock. But you are not aware of this low stock, and a customer asks for more. While billing, you will see only 2 items available, and you cannot sell more than that. If you set a minimum stock level for that specific item, say 10, the software will notify you when the stock falls below 10. This way, you will know in advance and can reorder the product, so you never run out of stock unexpectedly. The next setting is Stock Valuation. This determines how you want your inventory to be valued in the system. You have 3 methods to choose from: FIFO, first in, first out, LIFO, last in, first out, and weighted average. You select whichever method matches how you maintain and value your stock. Next is the option Consider Sales Return in Stock Valuation. If you want your sales returns to be factored into your stock valuation, you can simply turn this option on. Then, we have Item Coding Configuration. If you want your item coding to be manual, you can select that here. Alternatively, if you prefer automatic grouping or auto-numerical coding, those options are also available. Finally, there is Duplicate Item Based On. This setting helps prevent duplication in your item master. For example, if you create an item called Britannia Biscuit, and you don't want to create multiple entries with the same name, this setting will help ensure that only one such item exists. You can turn this on, and there will be no duplicate item created with the same name. Also, you have the option to prevent duplicacy based on barcode or item group by name, and you can select those settings as per your requirement. Next, we have item selection. Here, you decide how you want to select the item, whether on an item level or on a group level. You can simply select whichever option suits your business needs. Moving forward, there is separate print description. If you want a different print description while entering an item in a voucher, you can enable this. When turned on, a dialog box will appear for that specific item, where you can write a custom description. So, if you want to add something extra or specific on the invoice for that item, you can do it easily here. Now, let's talk about sub-item. What exactly is a sub-item? Let me explain with an example. Suppose you own a paint business, and you have a product called N905. Now, N905 comes in 12 different colors. The consistency, weight, packaging, everything is the same except the color. So, would you want to create 12 completely separate products? That would mean 12 different item ledgers, and keeping track of how many N905 products you've sold would be really confusing and cumbersome. Instead, what you can do is create a main item called N905, and under that, you create sub-items like N905 orange, N905 yellow, N905 blue, and so on. All these sub-items are linked under the main item. When you view the ledger for N905, it will show all transactions for N905 including all the sub-items. This makes it much easier to manage and see your sales and stock. Next up is the delivery date in sale purchase order. How do you want to handle the delivery date? Do you want it to be based on the entire order, based on each line item, or maybe not required at all? This setting lets you choose what works best for you. Now, let's discuss allow negative stock. What is negative stock, and why might you want to allow it? Well, imagine you have received goods and the purchase bill, but for some reason, you haven't yet entered this purchase into your software. However, a customer comes in and wants to buy those products, which are physically available, but not yet entered in the system. In this case, if you allow negative stock, you can still sell the product even though it's not yet entered in the software. Later, when you enter the purchase invoice, the system will update the stock accordingly. This feature helps keep your sales going smoothly even in such situations. The next option is gross tail weight. If you want to maintain gross tail weight for your products, you can enable this here. Then, we have free quantity applicable. Say you are running a sale where customers get free quantities, or if you receive free quantities when you purchase something. How do you want to record that? Should the free quantity be entered on sales or on purchase? You can select that here. Next is item unit applicable and rate unit applicable. Here, you decide on what unit the rate should be applied. Do you want the rate based on packs, stock units, or G-pack units? You can turn on the one that fits your inventory setup. Moving on, item rate decimal lets you select how many decimal places you want after the decimal point for rounding off rates. Whether you want 4 or 5 decimal places, you can choose that here. Then, there is rate based on. Do you want the rate to be based on the main item or on the sub-item? You can select the preferred option from here. The next option is rate preference and interlocation transfer. If you have multiple locations and you transfer stock from one location to another, how do you want the rate of that product to be calculated? Should it be based on the stock valuation or on the sales rate? You can select your preference here. Lastly, we have disallow unit change on document. If you do not want the units to be changed once entered on a document, you can enable this option to prevent any changes. Next is treat dispatch as challan and not invoice. If you want your dispatch sheet to be treated as a challan instead of an invoice, you can simply turn this option on. Moving on, we have show bundle details on billing. So, what exactly are bundle details? Let me explain with an example. Say you own a stationery or bookshop where you keep course books for every standard, like first, second, third, and so on. You have maths books, English books, SST books, science books for every class. Instead of selecting each book one by one, you can create a bundle, for example, a Class 1 bundle or Class 2 bundle containing all the books for that class. Now, whenever someone asks for the Class 6 books, you can just select the Class 6 bundle, and all the books included in that bundle will automatically appear on the invoice. This makes billing much quicker and easier. If you want bundle details to show up on billing, just turn this feature on. The next option is Show Stock Value in Balance Sheet. Here, you decide how you want your stock value to appear in the balance sheet. Would you prefer to enter it manually? Or do you want it to reflect real-time stock value based on GP per? Or if you don't want to show stock value at all, you can choose that option here. The next two options you'll find in the Production module. Now, on to Inventory Document Custom Fields. If you want to add any custom fields in your inventory documents, you can create them here. We provide 5 different custom fields. You just need to click Required if you want to enable it, then enter the caption and choose the type, whether it's a string, numeric, currency, or date field. Similarly, there's Item Master Custom Field. You can add custom fields to your Item Master records in the same way. Next is Item Extended Property, which is a very important part of the configuration. Let's start with Batchwise Inventory. For businesses that require manufacturing or expiry dates for their products, maintaining inventory batchwise is crucial. This helps you track each product batch and its expiry easily, so you just need to turn this on. Then there is Check Batch Expiry in Sales. If you want the system to alert or check batch expiry dates when selling, you can enable or disable this here. Next, Batch Details attribute lets you select which attributes you want to track for your batches. We offer several options to choose from. You can also select the expiry and manufacturing date format. Choose the format you prefer for entering these dates, whether it's day, month, year, or just month and year. There's also Check Batch Balance. This allows you to check the available balance for a batch while selling, so you always know how much stock is left in that particular batch. Moving on to Item Serial Number Tracking. In AlignBooks, you can also maintain inventory by serial number. For example, mobile phone shops track inventory by IMEI numbers, and automobile businesses track by battery numbers, chassis numbers, or machine numbers. This kind of serial number tracking helps you manage your stock precisely. Then we have Use Serial Attribute. You decide what kind of serial number attribute you want to use, whether it's a simple serial number, a lot number, or an item property. You can select that here. Next is Serial Detail Input. You can choose whether you want to enter serial numbers normally, one by one, or in ranges. For serial generation based on, you decide whether serial numbers are generated automatically by the system or manually created by you. Both options are available. You can also select Serial Generation Digit, that is, if you want to generate serial numbers yourself, how many digits should each serial number have? Finally, there is Check Serial Balance. If you want to check the balance of serial numbers during billing, you can turn this option on. Next option is Serial IMEI File Sales Rate and MRP. Do you want to maintain your stock serial-wise or by IMEI file? You can turn on the option to track sale rate and MRP for each serial or IMEI from here. Then there's Check Duplicate Serial in Inward. Sometimes while purchasing products, duplicate serial numbers can get entered by mistake. To prevent this, simply turn on this option, and the system won't allow any duplicate serial numbers during stock inward. Next is Number of Serial Fields. You can choose how many serial number fields you want, 1, 2, or 3. For example, mobile stores usually maintain inventory using 2 IMEI numbers per device, so they select 2 serial fields. Then comes Use Line Level Optional Barcode. If you want to enable barcode tracking at the line item level, just turn this on. Next is Input Item Document Detail Attribute. This is mostly used in garment businesses where purchases are entered as bulk but invoices are created per garment. You have different options here to select what fits your business process best. Following that is Barcode Inward-Outward Validation Check. Do you want to validate barcodes during stock inward or outward? You can choose to check for duplicates, stock balance, both, or disable validation if not needed. Next, there is Input Dimension Detail. If you want to enter product dimensions like length, width, and height, you can enable this and fill in those details for each item. Now let's talk about Sale Consideration Day, 30, and Sale Stock Day, 50. This is part of Material Requisition Planning, or MRP. Let me explain with an example. Suppose you run a clothing business and sold 30 shawls in November. Based on this, AlignBooks predicts you'll sell about 30 shawls in December too. But you currently have only 12 shawls in stock. The system will then alert you to purchase 18 more shawls to meet the expected demand. You can view this projection in the MRP trend report, which makes inventory planning much easier. Next is Sub-Item-Wise Stock Check. If you want to track stock for sub-items individually, you can enable this option. After that, there's Manage Brand-Wise Product. If you buy the same product from multiple brands, you can enable this and assign brands to your items when creating them. Next, Manage Prescription is useful for setting up recurring orders or pick and pack instructions for customers. You can create generic prescriptions that apply to any customer or party-based prescriptions specific to individual customers. Then there's Item Document Attribute, usually used in garment businesses. You can create custom attributes for your documents like color, gender, size, or others. You select the attribute type, for example, selfless, location, or customer-related, and add it here. Moving on, Fixed Asset Hands-in Attribute lets you create custom attributes for fixed assets. These are used in the Fixed Asset module, which will be explained in detail separately. Next is Item Master Attribute. If you need extra fields in your item master that aren't there by default, you can create up to 5 custom attributes here. The same goes for Sub-Item Master Attribute, you can add custom fields for your sub-items. Finally, there is the Service section. If you provide services and issue service cards to customers, all related configurations are here. You can enable options like Input Service Date to record when service was provided and service location, if you want to track where the service was done. Next, we have descriptions. If you want to add descriptions to your service card, you can create them here. There are 5 different description options available. Important, after making any changes or entering data, always click Save. Saving is compulsory. Otherwise, your changes will not be stored. Creating new items. To create new items, first go to Inventory, then select Item Master. In that screen, you'll see an option called Create New Item. When you click on it, 4 different options will appear. Inventory. This refers to physical products you buy to sell and make a profit. You will need to maintain stock for these items, and they impact your financial reports. Non-inventory. These are products you purchase but do not sell for profit. For example, computers, laptops, or printers used in your business are non-inventory items. Service. If you provide services and raise bills for them, create service items here. Bundle. A bundle is a set of items grouped together, which can include inventory, non-inventory, or services. For example, if you own a stationery or bookshop, you may sell individual books or a bundle of books for Class 1, Math, Science, English, etc. Selecting a bundle will automatically include all those books in the item list. Item Creation Form Details. After selecting the type of item, you will enter the item details. Item Image, upload a picture of your product here, optional. Name, enter the name of the item. Code, enter a unique code for the item if you have one. If you leave this blank, AlignBooks will automatically generate a code. Under Group. If you organize your inventory into groups, select the appropriate group here. For example, in a grocery store, you may have groups like grocery, personal hygiene, stationery, and household items. Selecting a group helps you filter and track items easily. Category, if you categorize items, select the relevant category. Brand, if you maintain inventory brand-wise, select the brand here. To create a new brand, click the plus symbol icon next to the brand drop-down. Type. Select the type of product from options like finished product, consumable, raw material, packing material, scrap, semi-finished, trade good, imported asset, service with BOQ, or BOM-based item. Unit. Choose how you maintain stock units, stock unit, stock pack unit, or stock pack unit. For example, if you select stock pack unit, you will enter 2 units, e.g., pieces and kilograms. If 1 kilogram contains 12 pieces, enter 12. Barcode, if your product has a barcode, enter it here. Auto barcode / serial prefix, enter auto-generated barcode or serial prefix details here if applicable. Packet barcode, enter the barcode for the packet if it applies. Subitem, if your product uses subitems, like components or variants, enable this option, otherwise, keep it turned off. GST input not available. If you purchase an item that is not for business use, you cannot claim input GST on it. In this case, turn on GST input not available so that the GST on this item will not be included in your GST report. Barcode printing. If you want to print a barcode for this item, enable the Print Barcode option. GST classification, HSN or SAC. HSN codes are for physical goods, items. SAC codes are for services. Enter the HSN or SAC code for your product or service and select the corresponding tax code linked to it. E-invoice and e-way bill description. If you want a different description to appear on your e-invoice or e-way bill, enter that description here. Sales details. Description, if you want a different sales description than the item name, enter it here. Sales GL, General Ledger, select the account where sales of this item should be posted. Pricing options, you can enter pricing details here such as MRP, maximum retail price, minimum price, sale rate, wholesale rate, dealer rate, rate factor, discount. These prices can be reflected on sales and purchase invoices if entered here, or you can enter them directly on invoices later. Suggested items. This option lets you suggest related items to your customers to increase sales. Example, if a customer buys an iPhone, you might suggest accessories like power banks, chargers, or AirPods. Enter such related items here so they appear as suggestions during sales. Purchase details. Description, enter a different purchase description if needed. Purchase rate, enter the rate you pay for the item here. Markup. You can set markup percentages for different customer types such as retailer, dealer, and wholesaler. Example, if you set a 25% markup for retailers, and your purchase price is $200, the retail sale price will automatically be calculated as $200 plus 25%. When you create a customer profile and mark them as a retailer, the sale rate will automatically adjust according to this markup. Inventory settings. Item workflow, select the workflow your business follows. Regular, for most businesses. Garment/fashion, if you select garment, additional options like size, color, and gender will appear to customize the item. Jewelry businesses may also have specific workflows. Minimum level, set the minimum stock level at which you want to get a notification to reorder the item. Maximum level, set the maximum stock level to avoid overstocking, useful for perishable or limited stock items. Example. If you set the minimum level to 10 and your stock falls to 10 or below, the system will alert you to reorder so you don't run out. This helps prevent situations where a customer requests 4 items but you only have 2 in stock. If your business offers warranties, like in mobiles or electronics, you can enter the warranty period in months for both purchase and sales. This helps keep track of how long the warranty lasts for each item. Also, if you organize your inventory on racks, you can enter the rack or bin number for each item. For example, in a pharma business, entering the rack bin helps you quickly find the medicine by showing exactly which rack it's stored on in your reports. For businesses that need to track manufacturing and expiry dates, such as pharmaceuticals or food products, you can turn on batch-wise inventory. Along with that, you'll need to enable batch-wise rate to manage pricing by batch. If your business deals with medicines, you can select the drug type here, otherwise, you can leave it as regular. Sometimes you may want to suggest an alternate item when the original is out of stock. This is where the salt option comes in handy. For example, if a headache medicine isn't available, the system can suggest a substitute medicine instead. If you want to track your stock items by serial numbers, which is common in mobile or automobile businesses, you can turn on serial tracking. There's also an option to skip multiple MRP rates if you prefer having just one rate per item. If you've created any custom fields or item master attributes in your system configuration, those will show up here so you can enter relevant details. Since creating many items manually can be tedious, there's a bulk import feature where you can download an Excel template, fill it out with your item data, and then upload it to create all the items automatically. Another helpful feature is pick and pack, which is great for businesses like pharmacies where customers regularly need the same set of products. You create a pick and pack list, like a prescription, containing all the items a customer needs, and then whenever they buy, you just select that list and all items get added to the invoice automatically. You can create pick and pack lists that are generic, usable by any customer, or party-based, assigned to one specific customer. Sometimes you have multiple similar items that differ only slightly, such as paint colors. Instead of creating each as a separate item, you can create one main item and add sub-items under it for each variant, making it easier to manage. Lastly, to keep your inventory accurate, the stock adjustment option lets you fix discrepancies between your physical stock and what's recorded in AlignBooks. For example, if you count fewer items than the system shows, you can adjust by issuing stock in AlignBooks, and if you find more, you can receive stock to update the system accordingly. If I have more products recorded in AlignBooks than I actually have in real stock, then I will issue the product to adjust the inventory. Conversely, if I have fewer products in AlignBooks than in real stock, then I will receive the products to update the system. The process is simple. First, we select the product, then if we want to issue stock, we do that. If we want to receive stock, we do that instead. Before that, we select the batch number for the product, and then choose whether to issue or receive it. Once done, we save the entry, and that's how stock adjustment works. Next is the material issue feature. Let's say I run a sale where customers get one free piece if they buy more than 4 pieces. Since I can't create purchase or sale invoices for free products, I use material issue to adjust my stock accordingly. Here, I can issue the free materials from my inventory, add any remarks like who it was issued to, and fill in all relevant details before issuing the product. Similarly, there's material receipt. If I receive some free products without an invoice, I can enter those here to adjust my stock records. After that, we have physical stock taking, which is basically an audit report of your inventory. Whenever you do a physical stock audit, you can enter the data here to keep track of stock status on specific dates. This helps with regular inventory verification and auditing. Then comes interbranch transfer, useful for businesses with multiple locations maintaining separate stocks. Suppose I have stock at one branch that I need to move to another branch. Since I can't generate invoices between my own branches, I use interbranch transfer. First, I raise an interbranch issue request from the branch needing the product. For example, if I'm in the Mumbai branch and I want 100 water bottles from Chennai branch, I create a request and save it. Next, the Chennai branch will see this request and create an interbranch issue, sending the stock to Mumbai. They pull the request, enter the date, tax details, and save it. At this point, the products are marked as goods in transit. Once the shipment arrives at Mumbai, I go to interbranch receipt and enter the receipt details like receipt number, tax, and posting GL. I can pull the details from the interbranch issue to confirm what was sent. After confirming and saving, the receipt is complete, and the transfer is done. So in summary, you request products from one branch, the other branch issues them, and you receive the products at your location, completing the interbranch transfer process. This way, you can smoothly issue and receive materials within your business. Now, let's go through all the configuration options. If you want to make any changes on the required page, you'll go to the configuration section. These configuration fields are the same everywhere, and you can set them as per your requirement. First up is the parent document. Here, you select what the parent document will be. If you don't want to allow quantities exceeding the parent document, you can enable that option. Then, if you want to pull documents from elsewhere, you decide how to pull them, whether by line item quantity, full document, or line item quantity with the top header. You can select the option that fits your process. After that, there's the auto expiry date for the parent document, which you can enter here. Then comes your date preference, whether it's rate in general or based on the parent document, you select it accordingly. Next is the Skip Selected Location filter. If you don't want to use the location filter, just click here. Following that, you have the parent document party and sub-party filter. Here, you choose the kind of filter you want. Then comes allowed item type. You pick the types of items you want to allow from the drop-down. Moving on to numbering, you decide if your invoice number will be auto-generated by selecting a numeric series, or if you prefer manual entry, you can switch to manual. You can also choose whether the numbering resets every year, every month, or never. For the invoice number, you can set a prefix if you want. This can be automatic or manual, depending on your preference. Then you decide how to separate the invoice number. With a slash, hyphen, space, or no separator at all. Lastly, you set how many digits you want in your invoice number. Next is the notification section. As you may have seen in the sales and purchase modules, here you configure how emails or WhatsApp messages are sent. The process is the same. Then comes approval settings. You can decide whether documents require approval, and if so, whether it's single level, two level, or workflow-based approval. All these configurations can also be imported easily. You just download the format from the import section, fill in the details, and upload it. If you want to send invoice details to someone, you can schedule it or mail it directly from here. Now, moving on to Job Work Outward. What is Job Work Outward? Let's say you own a manufacturing business, for example, automobile manufacturing. You make everything in-house except batteries, which you outsource to a vendor. The process of giving work to an external vendor is called Job Work Outward. In this section, the first step is to set the Job Work Outward rate. You select the name of the process, the finished item from that process, and the rate. Then comes the material issue for job. It's similar to how you issue materials for free products or stock adjustments. Here you issue materials to the vendor for job work. You select the vendor, the branch, the issue date, the process name, process rate, whether it's fresh or rework, reference number, and date. You can enter items either by scanning barcodes or manually selecting them. After selecting, you save the details of the materials issued to your vendor for the job. Next is material receipt after job. Sometimes the vendor returns excess materials or unused raw materials along with the finished product. These returns are entered here. You select the vendor, branch, receipt date, receipt number, the process, whether it's fresh or rework, and link it to the corresponding issue number. After entering all details, you save the receipt. So overall, the flow is, first, you create the process with the finished product and date, then issue the required materials to your vendor, and finally, enter any returned materials through material receipt after job work. You can even pull receipt details directly from the job work material issue. Alright, so, after issuing the material for job work, we now move on to the Job Work Outward invoice. Now, once we've issued the raw material for job work, we usually receive it back, sometimes with the finished product, and sometimes just raw material returns. Along with the finished goods, the vendor will also send us an invoice. And this is treated kind of like a purchase invoice. So, let's talk about how to enter that. You'll go to the Job Work Outward invoice section, and you'll start by entering it just like any regular purchase invoice. First, you'll need to select the GST type, whether it's a cash or credit purchase. Choose the branch. Pick the vendor. Enter the email. If there's currency conversion involved, select the currency. And then add the conversion rate. Next, select the process this invoice relates to. Then, you'll fill in the invoice date and the job work invoice number. Now, just a quick tip here. If you want to change the numbering format, you can go to Configuration Numbering and update it from there. If you have a reference number or a reference date, go ahead and add that too. And in case the transaction involves an agent, you can select the agent name here. After that, you'll choose whether the tax on this invoice is inclusive or exclusive, set the billing address, and the shipping address. If there are payment terms, select them. Now, here's something helpful. If your product has a barcode, you can select it using that. Or, you can just pull the details from the material received after job work. So, basically, you'll select the items, add the final product you've received. Then enter the item details like unit, quantity, rate, and so on. Once you're done with all that, just save it. Also, don't forget you have an attachment option, where you can upload the vendor's invoice. That way, if you need to find it later, it's right there, no need to dig through files. Now, if there are additional charges like brokerage, transportation, TCS, or anything else, you can add them using purchase attributes. And if TDS is applicable, you can enter those details as well. You also have a section for logistics details, in case you want to capture that information. And that's it. Once everything is in place, just hit save, and your job work outward invoice is done. At this point, you've completed the process, set the job work price, issued the material, received the finished product, gotten the invoice, and entered it into the system. Now, when it comes to making the payment, that's done through the payment bill section, which is a part of the purchase module. Package. Now let's move on to job work inward. So, here's a different scenario. Let's say you don't manufacture batteries, but you do manufacture brakes. Now, someone who doesn't make brakes gives you their raw material and asks you to make brakes for them. In that case, this is a job work inward process. The first step here is to define the job work inward rate, just like we did for outward job work. So you'll set the process, the finished item, and the rate. After that, go to material receipt for job work. This is where you'll receive the raw material from the customer. Here, you'll select the customer name, enter the receipt date, choose the process this is for, select the process rate, mention whether it's fresh or rework, and then enter the reference number and reference date. Add the party and shipping address, and then the item details, just like in the outward job work screen. Once everything's filled in, just hit save, and the material receipt for job work is recorded. Now, after you've received the material, you'll go ahead and manufacture the product. Once that's done, you'll issue the finished product and any leftover raw material back to the customer. To do that, you'll go to Material Issue from Job Work. Here again, you'll select the branch, choose the customer, enter the issue date and issue number, choose the process, and mark whether it's fresh or rework. Mention the original issue. Add the reference number and reference date. Then select the items that you're issuing back. And, once you're done, just hit save. And that's how the job work inward and outward process is managed in AlignBooks, from setting up the rate, issuing and receiving materials, to entering invoices and tracking everything step by step. Alright, so after that, we'll go ahead and release an invoice to the customer. Now for that, we'll go to Inventory Job Work Inward Invoice. Now basically, this is a sales invoice because we've completed their job work. So now, we're going to generate a service invoice for them. So, first things first, we'll select the GST type, whether it's cash or credit. Then we'll choose the branch from which branch we are raising this invoice. After that, select the customer, enter the email, and if it's in a different currency, then of course we'll choose the currency, the conversion rate, and then select for what process this invoice is being generated. Next up is the date and then the job work invoice number. Now, just like I mentioned in the last segment, if you want to change the invoice number, you can always go to Configuration Numbering and update it from there. Then we've got the reference number, the reference date, and if there's an agent or salesman involved, you can select them here as well. Also, don't forget to mark whether the invoice is inclusive or exclusive of tax. Now comes the important part, you'll pull data from the job work issue. So basically, all the materials we've sent out, the finished products we've worked on, we'll just pull them directly from the job work issue. So once the customer is selected, you'll see the option to pull from job work, and from there, you just select the relevant items and click OK. Super easy. Once that's done, just save it and voila, your invoice is generated. You can also send this invoice via email, SMS, and if you're on a paid plan, even through WhatsApp. Service Jobcard. Alright, now moving on, we have Service Jobcard in inventory. So, what exactly is a Service Jobcard? Let me break it down. It's basically a document used in service-based industries to manage and track service or repair tasks. It usually includes things like the job description, customer info, the assigned technician, required parts, service charges, and of course, the completion status. Let me give you a quick example. In an automobile workshop, the service job card would contain details like the repairs needed, the spare parts used, and the total billing, ensuring transparency and smooth workflow. So how do we create one? We'll go to Service Job Card, and in the first section, we'll start entering the details. First, select the branch, then the customer, and if a manager is assigned to this card, you can select that too. Next, we'll select the service item. So for example, let's say the customer is Mr. Sharma, the manager is Mr. Varma, and the service item is brake repair. Just select each accordingly. Then we've got the job card number, the job card date, a reference number, and a reference date. We also have an estimated amount section. So let's say I've estimated 3,000 Indian rupees for parts and 3,000 Indian rupees for labor. Enter that here. Next, we put in the delivery date, say 4 p.m., and if there's a salesman assigned, you can select that too. If the job is completed, you can mark it as closed right here. You can also enter accessories received, the item description, issue reported, and item condition. Now comes the item list. These are the parts or services that need to be performed or replaced. You'll enter them here, and based on that, the item value, tax, insurance, packing charges, and everything else will be calculated. If there's any hard document related to the job card, you can just upload it here. And that's it, the job card is now created. Material issue against job card. Now, once the job card is created, we'll go to material issue against job card. This is where you mention any spare parts or materials needed for the job. So here, you'll first select the job card number, the issue date, and the reference date. Once you select the job card, all the details will autofill, like what's the issue reported, item details, etc. Then you'll simply select the required item for that job and click Save. So basically, this is where you issue the necessary materials required to complete the job. Material receipt against job card. Now let's say we issued a part, maybe a 120 GSM coil, but the technician didn't end up using it. In that case, we go to Material Received Against Job Card. So again, select the job card, and all its details will show up. Then you just select the item and quantity that's being returned and hit Save. This way, those unused materials come back into your inventory. Invoice Against Job Card. Once the job is done, and the parts used are final, we'll go to Invoice Against Job Card. Here, we generate the final invoice. So first, you'll choose if it's a GST invoice, and if it's on tax, cash, or credit. Then, you'll select the branch and the job card number. Once the job card is selected, all related details like customer, items, salesman, price category, they all appear automatically. You can then verify the HSN code, tax, and once everything looks good, just save it. And that's it. The invoice is now generated against that particular service job card. Alright, so after that, we come to the option of closing a job card. Now, here, it's actually pretty simple. We just need to select the branch, the quick period, and then set the closure date, basically, from which date to which date we're closing it. Once we do that, all the job cards for that period will appear on the screen. From there, we can simply select the one we want to close, hit Save, and that job card is now officially closed. So yeah, that's how easy it is to close a particular job card in AlignBooks. Now moving on, in the inventory module, we've already covered quite a bit. We've gone through the configuration of inventory, item master, pick and pack, sub-item, stock adjustment, material issue, material receipt, physical stock reconciliation, inter-branch transfers, job work outward, job work inward, and of course, the service job card. So next, let's talk about reports, and honestly, there are a lot of reports in AlignBooks that can really make business management a lot easier. These reports are designed to meet all kinds of requirements. So let me take you through some of the key reports available in the inventory module. We'll go to Reports, and then click on All Reports. Here, you'll see a dedicated section for inventory reports. Just head over to More Reports, and under that, you'll find everything related to inventory. Now the first one we'll look at is the Primary Stock Report. This includes views like the item master, sub-item master, and item master with bundle details. So basically, in the item master, you'll be able to see all the details you filled in while creating that item, like the item name, code, group, category, and everything else. The same goes for the sub-item master and bundle details. Then we come to the stock ledger. This section includes options like stock daybook, stock ledger sub-item wise, daily item movement, and monthly item movement. So first, what exactly is a stock ledger? Let's start with the stock daybook. This one shows you the stock movement for a particular day, what came in, what went out, everything. Then there's the main stock ledger. And here's the cool part. You can apply a variety of filters. You can select the quick period, choose whether to skip 0 transactions, select the branch, item group, individual item, everything. After applying the filters and clicking on View, you'll get a clear report showing the opening balance, closing balance, issue quantity, and receipt quantity, all based on the selected date range. Now, if you want to drill down further, you can check the stock ledger sub-item wise. This is super useful when you've created sub-items, like if you have a product with multiple variants, you'll see each sub-item's stock activity separately. That's actually the main reason sub-items exist, to get that detailed view in reports. Next up is daily item movement. This one shows you how a particular item is moving on a day-to-day basis. And right along with it, we also have the monthly item movement report, which gives you a month-wise summary. After that, we've got the stock trial reports. These are broken down into a few different types, so we have stock trial sub-item wise, stock trial transaction type wise, stock trial location or warehouse wise, and even a grid view version of stock trial. So, when you open the stock trial report and select your filters, you'll see details like opening stock, items received, items issued, and finally, the closing balance, all for the selected period. If you choose the stock trial sub-item wise, you'll see the breakdown for each sub-item. So instead of just seeing one item, let's say paint N905, you'll also see N905 orange, N905 blue, N905 green, and so on. Now, transaction type wise stock trial gives you a really insightful breakdown. You can see, for example, for item N905, how much was received through purchase invoices, how much was sold, what the invoice status is, where it was used, and so on. Every bit of detail, neatly arranged by transaction type. Then there's location or warehouse-wise stock trial. This one helps you compare stock movement across different branches or warehouses. For instance, in the Chennai location, you might see that the opening balance was 400, closing balance was also 400, and no transaction happened during the selected period. Similarly, for other locations, you'll see their respective stock activity. The grid view is essentially the same as the regular report, but it's displayed in a more structured grid format for easier reading. And finally, we also have stock trial month-wise, perfect if you want to compare stock data across different months and see how inventory levels changed over time. So yeah, that covers a wide range of inventory reports in AlignBooks. They're detailed, customizable, and super helpful when it comes to making informed business decisions. Alright, so after that, we move on to the valuation section. Now, in valuation, we have a number of different reports available. There's stock valuation based on MRP, detailed stock valuation at last purchase rate, stock statement for bank, attribute-wise valuation, sub-item-wise valuation, and a new stock valuation report as well. So, let's walk through each of these one by one. First up is stock valuation. So basically, this shows us the value of stock currently in our books. You'll see how much stock you have and the total value of that stock, based on the rate and quantity. It's a quick snapshot to help you know what your inventory is worth. Then comes stock valuation based on MRP. This one's pretty straightforward. Instead of seeing the stock value based on your purchase or cost price, you see it as per the MRP. So if you're tracking retail values, this report helps with that. Next is stock valuation detail. In this report, you'll see detailed breakdowns like the item code, the balance, and which voucher it's associated with. For example, whether that item came through a purchase voucher, a sales voucher, or some other kind, everything gets listed here. After that, we have stock valuation at last purchase rate. So if you want to see the valuation of your stock based on the last rate at which you purchased an item, this is the report to check. You'll also find details like the branch name, item code, opening balance, closing balance, and the related invoice data, all shown clearly. Then we have something called stock statement for bank. So let's say your bank requires a stock statement from you, you can simply preview this report and share it with the bank. It includes all the essential details like opening stock, closing stock, valuation, etc., in a neat format. Now moving on to stock valuation attribute-wise. This is for businesses using item attributes like size, color, or any custom fields. You can select your attribute, and the system shows the stock valuation split as per that. Then we have stock valuation sub-item-wise. So if you're working with sub-items, say, different variants of a product, you can view their stock valuation separately in this report. Okay, now let's move into material issue, receipt, and adjustment. So we've already seen how to issue materials, receive them, and adjust stock. But what if you want to see a report showing how many times you did these operations, and the quantities involved? That's where these registers come in handy. Let's start with the material issue register. Here, you can track how many items you've issued over a period, for example, across the year. You'll see the item details, codes, sub-items if any, and how many pieces were issued. Then there's the receipt register, which works the same way. It shows how many units of each item you've received and when. And then we have the stock adjustment register. This shows all the adjustments you've done, like excess or shortage entries, and gives you the total quantity and amount adjusted. Following that is a report called material issue versus receipt. This one's super useful if you want to compare side by side how much material was issued versus how much was received over a time period. And it also gives you the balance, so you can track any gaps. Next up, branch transfer reports. This covers movement of goods between different locations or branches. Under this, we have reports like interlocation issue request, interlocation issue register, interlocation receipt register, interlocation goods in transit, interlocation goods in transit barcode-wise, interlocation issue versus receipt, and interlocation request versus issue. Let's begin with the interlocation issue request. So if one branch requested stock from another, you can track that here. For example, say branch A requested 5 items from branch B, those requests will be listed in this report, along with the date and item details. Then we have the interlocation issue register, which shows how much stock was issued by one location to another in a given time frame. Following that is the interlocation receipt register, where you can track how much stock was actually received at the other end. Now comes a very important one, interlocation goods in transit. So, imagine branch A has issued stock, but branch B hasn't yet received it. That means the goods are still in transit. This report helps you track how many items are currently on the way, really helpful to avoid confusion. And yeah, there's also a barcode-wise goods in transit report, which gives even more precise tracking if you're using barcodes for your stock movement. Let's start with interlocation goods in transit. If you want to know the value of goods currently in transit between your branches, you can check that directly from the interlocation goods in transit report. Not only that, you can also see how many items are in transit, and from which location to where. If you want to go a bit deeper, you can open interlocation goods in transit barcode-wise. This gives you a detailed barcode level view so you can track each individual item that's in transit between branches. Next, we have interlocation issue versus receipt. Here, you can see how many items were requested, how many were actually issued, and how many were received. This is especially helpful if you want to identify if anything's stuck or delayed. Similarly, interlocation request versus issue shows you what was requested from one branch and how much was issued in response. It helps you track pending issues or shortfalls. Now let's talk about job work reports. You'll find reports like Jobcard, Job Work Inward, and Job Work Outward all in one place. If you want to see how much material was sent to a job worker, just go to Issue for Job Work. And if you want to check how much material has come back after processing, go to Received after Job Work. There's also a jobber ledger, which shows you the account history of the job worker or vendor you sent the material to. If you want to check how many invoices were raised towards a jobber, you can see that in the jobber outward invoice summary. Now let's compare how much was issued versus how much was received after job work. For that, use the report called issue for job work versus received after job work. It shows you what went out, what came back, and what might still be pending. Then there's received after job work with consumption. This one's useful when you want to track consumption. For example, if you said 100 units and got 20 back, it tells you that 80 units were consumed. You'll see item details like code, unit, quantity, rate, and total amount consumed. Now let's move to serial and IMEI based reports. First, we have the dispatch register with serial number. This report shows you exactly which serial numbered items were dispatched, to whom, and when. You just select the date range and it gives you item names, serial numbers, quantities, and customer names. Then there's the sales register serial number wise, where you can see all sold items along with their serials. If you're looking for what you purchased, use the purchase register serial number wise. It works the same way, just for incoming goods. Now let's say you want to check what you actually have in stock, use serial-wise stock balance. It tells you which serial numbers are still in your inventory. If you're facing mismatch issues, there's a report called serial versus stock difference. It compares your actual stock quantity with what the system shows at a serial number level across vouchers like sales, purchases, dispatch, and more. Next is serial stock tracking. This is like an audit trail. It lets you trace where every serial number has moved from purchase to sale or transfer. And finally, there's serial inward versus outward. This gives you a simple breakdown of how many units you received for each serial number and how many were issued. Next, let's talk about the attribute barcode reports. Here, you can see detailed reports for everything you've created using attributes and barcodes. You have registers like the attribute barcode sales register, purchase register, and even sales and purchase registers with attribute matrix views. There's also a stock trial attribute-wise barcode register, plus many more similar reports. For example, in the MRP-wise stock balance report, you can check stock by MRP and location. Say in Chennai, you have protein mix fruit mix flavor with an MRP of 520. The sales rate is also 520, and you have 6 units left in stock. It's easy to keep track of your stock value and quantity this way. You can also look at stock aging attribute-wise and stock trial attribute-wise warehouse columnar reports. For instance, if you track attributes like color for a product like Protein X, you can see the opening balance, received quantity, issued quantity, and closing balance all by location and attribute. Now, moving on to Pharma batch reports. These reports are essential for pharma businesses, giving you batch-wise details including expiry dates and manufacturing dates. First, we have batch stock tracking. Here you see each item with its batch number, manufacturing date, expiry date, and sales rate all in one report. Next is the batch detail-wise stock balance, which shows batch-specific stock information. For example, you'll see paracetamol's batch number, manufacturing and expiry dates, purchase quantity, sales rate, and remaining stock. Then, there's the batch number-wise stock balance. This report focuses just on the batch number and quantity, without showing manufacturing or expiry dates, but includes the effective rate. You also have the batch expiry register to track expiry dates, MRPs, and batch details, so you never miss an expiring product. For profitability insights, check the H1 drug sales register batch-wise profitability. It shows you how much profit you made on each batch. For example, if you bought a batch at 200 rupees and sold it at 300 rupees, this report will calculate the profit, say 648 rupees for that batch. You can also manage pharma stock details like opening and closing stock balances through these reports. Lastly, we have some other useful registers like the imitation jewelry rental booking register and Marshall request planning. These registers and reports make managing your business much easier. Because when you know exactly what reports to look for and what details to check, you can handle your inventory efficiently, all from one place. I hope this video was helpful to you in understanding how to maintain your inventory using AlignBooks. Thank you.